So about 2 weeks ago, I put out a call in our community tab. I don't know how people get the community tab, like my posts here. I don't know how many people usually see them, how many people don't. Got 33 likes on this post as of recording. But about 2 weeks ago, probably for you, I sent out a message saying I was thinking about doing a Q&A video just because I was curious what people would even ask me if given the opportunity. And I think it would be some fun, easy content. So here we are. So we're going to answer some questions. There's 20 proper comments here as of recording again. There might be more after recording, since this probably won't go out for a few days at least, but that's fucking logistics, whatever the fuck. But here we are to answer questions. I said I'd do them in a scripted format. I lied, haha. But yeah, maybe I'll do, because I'm just curious, maybe people didn't see the post, now watching the video they're going to have more questions, so maybe I would do a part 2 of this video, and if so, you should leave the questions in the comments to this video. Probably like start it saying question in caption and in caps lock or something, in capital letters, because I guess there'll be other comments responding to what I have to say in this video. But basically, you can do this at any time if you're in Twitch chat, because we stream multiple times a week. The Twitch link is always in the description box if you wanted to go over there at any time. Right now we're doing a Fire Red Nuzlocke. When this goes out, we might be dead though. It's still going strong as of time of recording. But if you ever end up there, you can just ask any question in chat and I'll probably answer it. But this is a way to do it in a video. It'll get out to more people and just some curious questions. There are a lot of questions that I get a lot that I'd like to go through and answer here anyway. So maybe I'll stop getting those comments or whatever. But let's get into it. Why not? We've got I sorted by top, but we've got Millar's comment at the top because he was most recent. He is a Twitch chatter. He's trolling us here by asking which filler arc, Skypiea or which is the better filler arc, Skypiea or Heaven's Arena. If you recall, I started One Piece and Hunter x Hunter, but I haven't watched or read, because I'm reading One Piece. I haven't continued either one of those series in 2 months, stopping at Skypiea and Heaven's Arena. That's the joke. He knows this. He's mad about it. But which one's better? And he's calling it a filler arc, haha, because I stopped. And some people call Skypiea a filler arc. But Skypiea is definitely better. It's more One Piece. It's 10 out of 10 stuff. It's fucking perfect. It's great. I just stopped because it got away from me, and now to go back in, I'd have to read the last few chapters I read. And it's beginning One Piece arc stuff, so they're setting a bunch of stuff up. Not that I'm not saying that it's fucking slow. Just that it's what the fuck was going on? And because Oda always does teasers at the beginning that are going to come back later, and if I got in the teasers, then the comeback isn't going to be as fucking large. So, because last time I read some One Piece, it'd been a month as well, and this would have been a month ago. So, and I had to go back and basically refresh myself quickly by skimming through the beginning Skypiea chapters. I think I'm 15 chapters into Skypiea. The boat just got sailed away. Haven't met Enru yet, but all that shit's going on. Heaven's Arena is more Hunter x Hunter, so it's a 7 out of 10 maybe. I don't know. I never felt I never got gripped by Hunter x Hunter. I do intend to continue watching it. I stopped right before the Gon Hisoka fight. The last episode I watched of Hunter x Hunter was my favorite episode of Hunter x Hunter, which was I watched one after that, but the one before that where it's revealed that Hisoka is only in the Phantom Troop because he wants to fight people. He tries to go on the date with the hot pink girl. That was all really fun characterization stuff. I don't know if that was also the episode where he fought the one dude. That might have been the episode before, but that was interesting, just seeing how the powers work and things like that. So I'm in relative good spaces with both of them. I intend to continue both of them. Skypiea probably sooner. One day I'm just probably going to end up being fuck it, I'll read a little bit of Skypiea. Because usually I was only reading 4 chapters at a time anyway. But we do need to get back on the One Piece grind at least. And probably Hunter x Hunter too. But that's the first question. So now we've got 3 here. I have 3. Would you ever consider making the content you put on the channel more algorithmic friendly? to help it grow, like making it shorter, more frequent, or more clickbaity videos? Why does it seem like so many readers are failing to understand the underlying themes behind Attack on Titan? Or in your words, why has it become this bastion of cynicism? Is it the sensitive nature of the topics addressed, the delivery, or is it something else? And third, which manga/anime would you rank the highest in terms of dialogue only? How would it compete in that regard against your highest rated Western pieces of media/literature? Three pretty alright questions right there. But what was the first one? Would I make things more algorithmically friendly? I feel like I already do this. Clickbait is relative. I think clickbait is fine as long as like what you're clickbaiting is in the video. And I feel like most people agree with this. Like titling something "There are no badass women in Black Lagoon," it's pretty clickbaity. You know, it's going to make people mad. It's going to make people click on them. It also leans into a lot of stupid comments that you're going to get. Because they don't realize like the inherent sarcasm in certain titles and things like that. But I feel like I already do a lot of this. I don't know. There's certain videos, I don't know. I like prioritize Attack on Titan content in like the last year because it was what got the most views in terms of scripted stuff, and sort of fell away from Berserk. But that was sort of like the beginning of the first channel. I think I'd just come off like my third reread of Berserk, so it was very on the brain. And Attack on Titan hadn't picked up as much. We were in like the mid 110s, so it hadn't gotten to the end there where 118, 119, and 122 are like the best fucking manga chapters of all time, and then it ramped up and was fucking 10 out of 10 stuff every month. So it's usually just what I'm thinking of. But, like, the views definitely count in. Like, I would make just Madman videos, but they're going to get 50 views and not be sustainable at all. But I feel like I don't know how I would do it more. I guess I could completely change things and do, like, explained videos for Attack on Titan or something. But no, it has to at least be a little bit interesting to me to make a video on it. I couldn't just go on autopilot. Making videos is not the funnest process in the world. So yeah, I don't think I could do it just on autopilot, making like stuff I'm not interested in. I already do that with like last minute predictions for Attack on Titan, but that's like one day's work. Make a PowerPoint, like think up the PowerPoint, stream and record the PowerPoint, then make a thumbnail, put the fucking stream footage through Premiere, render it, export it, upload it. Like that's like 6 hours of work one day a month. So that's okay. Like chapter reviews is similar work, but there's substance there, right? There's a chapter to review and a lot of things to talk about. So I would say the most clickbaity / algorithmically friendly thing I do is last minute predictions. Though progressively, like 4 months ago, it like peaked with I think 120, 132 or whatever, the big Eren chapter that everybody loved, that I got like peak viewership on. Like last minute predictions and the chapter review both got like 9K views that month. So that was like, so that helped it out. So because I thought about discontinuing last minute predictions, but then it got those big views, and since then it's kept dwindling, but I'm pretty sure we're going to keep it around because it's like a free couple thousand views. That's like $5, all right? His second question, why does it seem like so many readers are failing to understand the underlying themes of Attack on Titan, so on, the cynicism stuff, sensitive nature of the topics addressed? I don't know. Again, we reiterate on this on stream a lot. I don't think there is an underlying theme. I'm big subjectivity boy, so I don't think anybody's reading of Attack on Titan is wrong. So it's hard for me to even engage with that part of the question. But is it the cynicism aspect? I definitely think the internet breeds this sort of cynicism in like every facet, where like an overall like positive, optimistic message isn't going to come across. Like people will just say it's not realistic without even thinking about it. So like everybody coming together against Eren was not realistic. Now this could be for a few reasons. This could be because readers are inclined to side with Eren. So everybody coming together to fight Eren seems like it's going to indicate that the story is going in the direction of Eren losing. So then they lash out at that. Or it could just be they don't want, it's stupid. People don't just come together, bro. Get realistic or some shit like that. where like the story's supposed to be the exception to the rule to prove that it can happen and like demonstrate that maybe we should come together or something more optimistic like that. It's also in this, Attack on Titan has a lot of thematic discussion surrounding it, but it's not finished yet. So it's very hard to like clue in and try and figure out what exactly certain motifs mean and what Isayama is trying to say. Even though he says he's not trying to say anything sometimes. We really just need the full picture before we fully analyze this situation. Another article came out, fucking Minty sent it to me on Twitter. I shared it in stream chat the other day. I'll probably, maybe I'll show it on screen now. I don't know how much editing I'm going to put into this. Or I'll link it in the description at least. About why, I think it's titled Why Attack on Titan is the Alt-Right's Favorite Manga. Which goes into this and sort of points out how, like, yes, those sorts of people, like alt-righters or whatever, or people who believe in the white genocide or whatever the fuck, like, there are clear read-ins with Attack on Titan, and I think this comes down to the sensitive nature of the topics addressed. Like, Isayama did use Jewish imagery of, like, 30s Germany and 40s Germany, of them in armbands for the Eldians. But it turns out, like, the Eldians are actually, like, the white people, since, like, everybody on Paradis, at least, has, like, European names, so you could read into that, like, the white people are being oppressed or whatever, which I don't think is what Isayama is going for at all. I don't think Isayama is a white supremacist as he is an Asian man, and things like that. But you could read into that pretty, like, because most of the things, like, alt-right people do is ironic anyway. They could just, like, meme it into existence. And it's just sort of, it depends on the direction of the people talking about Attack on Titan. I feel like we, as people that talk about Attack on Titan, have a lot of influence over our audiences, obviously. I feel like a lot of people would agree with me, whatever I said, just because they don't talk to anybody about Attack on Titan. They just read the chapters, and their dialogue with other people about the chapter is limited to the YouTube videos they watch. So I don't know if other community people, like, who's the biggest, like, Foxen or whatever, he never says anything, so I don't know. I shouldn't even say that. I haven't watched a Foxen video in 3 years. But I remember him doing lots of just, like, impartial explaining shit. Like, I saw the clip of Rogers Base, whose, like, chapter reactions I haven't watched in a few months, so I don't know what side he's on or anything like that. But I saw the clip on Twitter recently of him saying that, of course, Eren has to lose, and people were getting mad at that. I don't know. There's a million reasons to dive in here. The anime manga community tends to be, like, younger or lonelier or sadder people generally, especially if you're into a manga and you've read ahead. So that would make them more internet-like people, which would make them more a certain type of people, which would probably make them more inclined to be in, like, radicalized groups or whatever. There's a million things. This question is so, like, open-ended, we could go anywhere, but there's a million reasons. But yeah, we'll talk about this a lot more after the series is finished, I think. Which manga/anime would you rank in terms of dialogue? Which one's the best and how would it compare? Now, dialogue used to be a big talking point, I would say, on the old channel a long time ago, that I used to have very different beliefs about dialogue, and I used to be much harsher on dialogue. We're actually having this discussion on stream literally last night about my stance on internal monologues and how I used to think they were, like, terrible writing always. But I completely reversed that and being like, no, it's fine. Everything in art, I feel like, is neutral. I don't feel like I absolutely believe that. I think, like, plot holes are neutral. Exposition dumping is neutral. Internal monologues are neutral. Character arcs are neutral. Like, these things are neither good nor bad. They can be used in good or bad ways. Just because your character has a character arc or develops doesn't make them good or bad. Just because there's a plot hole doesn't make it good or bad. These are all, like, subjective things we use to explain our experiences with art. So in terms of that, I've softened on my dialogue stance. I maintain that Berserk has pretty great dialogue, I think. Attack on Titan has terrible dialogue sometimes. And sometimes it's got really good phrasing. Berserk has this poetic feel to it sometimes, especially, like, in turning a phrase, Miura's really good. I've talked about this in videos before. Berserk is probably the answer. Like, I don't remember Vinland Saga's dialogue particularly. Sometimes it has that poetic turn of phrase too. One Piece has pretty great dialogue, though it falls into like the shonen tropes of being overly expositional sometimes. I don't know. I feel like Berserk probably has the best. I would have to like reanalyze them with my current self since it's been so long since I've gone through moment to moment and read the dialogue. But how would they compare to? Well, it's completely different, right? Because anime, I usually watch it subbed, right? So you can't really get a lot out of the performance. You can in different ways, right? And I feel like the ways you get it out in Western performances is better. Like I started Black Sails recently. I'm like 4 episodes in season 2. Like even in that show, like just the way people talk is so like nice to listen to. Like the different dialect patterns or the pacing of how they say words is really good. Like Jack Rackham, like you just listen to him and it sounds good. And he's got an Australian accent, and usually through fucking microphones, I think our accent is horrendous. But he sounds great. Like they all sound really good, especially the fucking Silver. He's also Australian and he sounds great. Like Gates, the way he used to talk, Flint, everybody. Even Eleanor, like she swears really good. Like it doesn't come off ham-fisted or artificial or things like that. There's like certain things, and just in that, and then like The Sopranos, how visceral the dialogue is. Like because in manga it's not even spoken, right? So it's to measure the two would be completely different. I feel like it's not even the same category. Because you like do the pronunciation in your head when you're reading it. If you're reading fucking Guts and Griffith talk on the Hill of Swords or whatever, and you sort of read into it through the facial expressions, whereas like with Black Sails or The Sopranos or Mad Men or Game of Thrones, you hear it and like a lot of it's told through that way. So personally, I don't like it as much because I like the back and forth. Black Lagoon is like my favorite anime/manga property. On the back of the dialogue and the dialogue delivery, so I prefer stuff like that. But like, if we were to put Black Lagoon against those other things I just mentioned, like the live action shows, I don't think it's as consistently good. I feel like Revy is like a great performance. I feel like Rock isn't as good, but is still pretty great, especially when I've heard that actor before give some bad performances. Like Balalaika is really, really good. But comparing them to like The Sopranos, no, I don't think they're as good and things like that. But that's it for that question, I think. We've got 3 here again, 3 short ones though. Are you planning on reading the Black Lagoon manga? I have not read the Black Lagoon manga. Yes, recently I saw some pages, I think on the Reddit, where I was like, maybe this is worth my time. Because again, a lot of my Black Lagoon admiration comes from the dialogue, and obviously, as we just talked about, you can't hear Revy's voice actress say the lines in the manga, but the way it was written, the way the dialogue was written particularly was really interesting and cool. So I was like, all right, it's on the list now. It was on the list a long time ago, then it fell off the list. Now it's back on the list of eventually, hopefully, I will read the Black Lagoon manga. Plus, that could probably lead to a lot of content. So that would be good. But I am planning on it tangentially. It's not going to happen anytime soon. Don't get your hopes up about it. But eventually, it probably will happen. How old are you? I am 19 as of recording. That won't be changing anytime soon. When I started the original channel, I would have been 17 and like 6 months old. So I would have been 17 and a half when I started the old channel. The new channel got started right after I turned 18. So that's sort of the timeline for you guys. What series are you planning to reread? All of them, always. Rewatching, rereading, replaying needs to happen every few years, at least for me. Now we got an interesting one. Well, it's not really that interesting. I have the answer like immediately, but I'll probably put this in the title for some clickbait. Rank these manga: Attack on Titan, Vinland Saga, and Berserk. Well, it would pretty evidently go number 1 Berserk, number 2 Attack on Titan, and number 3 Vinland Saga. Berserk just has... It's such a reductive thing to say. Berserk just has better writing than Attack on Titan, I think. Vinland Saga is the clear third, I think, here. I've said that Attack on Titan chapter 122 is like the singular best chapter of manga I've ever read, and I definitely stand by that still. But But I feel like in most other manga, since Attack on Titan's chapters are so fucking girthy and like 46 pages or whatever the fuck, and Berserk chapters are like 22, like most of the best Berserk moments happen over like 5 chapters, and that's like 1.5 Attack on Titan chapters as the equivalent. Like the Slan encounter in Quilaf or Quaif or whatever it is. Like what else? Hill of Swords moment. Griffith's existential crisis in the Eclipse. Wounds is 2 chapters, plus the 3rd chapter caps off the scene. Like the Casca dreamscape stuff, the Casca waking up stuff, that's like multiple chapters. Like all the best parts of Berserk are multiple chapters. So on the chapter front, I think Attack on Titan has better chapters per capita. 1 chapter of Attack on Titan is probably better than 1 chapter of Berserk, but overall Berserk is much better. Character writing is very important in me evaluating how much I like something, and I feel like the top 10 Berserk characters are all better than like the best Attack on Titan character rather, and that would be Levi. I think we talked about this when I did my big tier list thing, where I ranked all of my favorite characters, all of my S tier characters, and a lot of the Berserk ones were at the top, and the Attack on Titan ones were like in the middle or at the bottom. Vinland Saga is in this weird interstice where Vinland Saga is like a solid 8 out of 10. It sometimes reaches up and becomes a 9 out of 10, and maybe the end of the prologue is a 10 out of 10. But it doesn't have whatever as much as Attack on Titan or Berserk do. Like the streak at the after Thorkel and Askeladd both join Canute to the end of the prologue is like the best space in Vinland Saga, I think. The farm arc is probably better than the prologue consistently. I feel like, I don't know, I've come all the way around of being like, maybe Vinland Saga should have been, maybe the pacifism stuff is ruining Vinland Saga. I don't know, like, it's so, that little space of time is so interesting, where there's so many characters around that are very dynamic at once. Like Askeladd is like becoming the greatest character in the entire series at that point, and we're slowly learning more about him, like the battle with Bjorn, and then Thorfinn, and then his backstory, and then him problem solving, and the ulti situation where he's like, I don't want to ever see you again, plus his mini scenes with like Thorkel and playing off Canute, and Canute is coming into being like the most interesting he ever is for a period, which is at the end after he has his realization, and then Thorkel's around, and him playing off all the people around him is super interesting because he's been separated from them until this point. And Thorfinn sort of goes into the background and is just like a mad boy. And that's sort of the best period where it's like, and then King Swain is also around and Flocky is around. It's just like all these characters conjoined on this one point, all doing interesting and dynamic shit. And then you compare that. We got into a weird tangent about what makes Vinland Saga great. Like on the farm, it's interesting, but it's all farm characters. Like the peak of the arc is like Thorfinn and Canute's interaction and Arnie dying, but that's because Arnie is a very, very strong character. And I think I've soured on Einar a lot. I think he's pretty boring a lot of the time. And there's just not the sheer density of interesting characters. And even at the end of the Baltic Sea War, like that, at this point, Thorkel is still in the exact same place, basically. And so is Flocky, so it's like, and Thorfinn comes more into the forefront, and he's not as interesting as, like, Askeladd, and Garm's around, and he's cool, but he's basically there for the fight, and there's some interesting back and forth, but then we deal with Garm, and we go into the real issue. Gudrid and the crew sort of is separated, like, Gudrid's in there, and she's doing interesting stuff with Sigurd, but the rest of them are on, like, the outside. Einar's not doing anything, Hild's being annoying or whatever. So it's just like, I don't know, I feel like the density of characters in that little peak with like the best of Vinland Saga, but even that like isn't as good as the like even like the B Attack on Titan and B Berserk stuff, like the second best stuff. Attack on Titan has continually gotten better, and that's very admirable. I feel Berserk has basically continually got better, but Berserk is a clear number one. Like, I don't know. There's no character in either one of those other series as good as Casca or Guts or Shurikei or fucking Puck or Cedro or any of the boys and girls. Like, they're all just... And Berserk has this moment-to-moment character interaction stuff that's, like, only on par with One Piece of, like, how good the interaction and the comedy between the characters are and how fun it is to just watch them be themselves. Whereas in Attack on Titan, I feel like if we were to watch the characters on their fucking day off, they'd just be moping around about how depressed they are, and it wouldn't be very expressive and things like that. And same with the Vinland Saga crew. Like, if we spend a whole chapter with the Vinland Saga crew on the fucking boat, like, unless Gudrid is doing some weird, haha, I'm in love with Thorfinn, not really stuff, like, what interesting stuff is going to happen? Like, Thorfinn's going to piss Harald off, she's going to say, I'm going to kill you or whatever, and Leif's going to stand there laughing or something. Like, I feel like with the Berserk thing, Puck is doing something weird with the Cedro, he's in a weird, goofy costume, then we cut over to Shurikei, Cedro's pissing off Shurikei, Shurikei's trying to be nice to Funnies, Funnies is trying to look at Guts' cock through the window, but he's looking after Casca, but he has to keep his distance because Casca is going crazy or whatever. And fucking Avella's swimming around saying, Shurikei, you need to get on Guts. What the fuck are you letting this Shurikei bitch do? And there's like a million things. Roderick's being stoic over there. Magnifico's trying to fucking do some shit. Like, and Azan's training the fucking crewmen. Like, you're cutting around and like you can just see the scene play out because those characters are so fully realized. So, 1 Berserk, 2 Attack on Titan, 3 Vinland Saga. And I feel like there's a sizable jump between each one of those rankings, but that's that question. Next one, have you watched/read Monster? If not, do you plan to? There was a period like a month and a half ago where I almost started Monster. I've heard about Monster. I actually have seen like 7 episodes of Monster before. I have vague memories. I remember the start being really strong with the ethical question of saving the kid or the mayor or whatever, him losing his job and his girlfriend for it. I remember it having a pretty mature sex scene, like just like, hey, it's just like a normal like a Western TV show where the girl comes in and they have sex and it's just like a cutaway of them kissing on a bed. I remember thinking that was like unique to anime back then. Now, I watched these like 5 years ago when I was starting Game of Thrones when I was like 14. I've told this story before, but I started Game of Thrones and Monster at the same time, where I'd watch 1 Monster episode, then 1 Game of Thrones episode. But sadly for Monster, I was like, fuck this, I just want to watch a bunch of Game of Thrones episodes right now. So I prioritized that. But I do plan on it. I really got into the ED for the Monster anime and slowly. So I really like that, and that almost pushed me over the edge to start watching it, because the imagery in the ED is really cool and shit like that. I see Johan, or whatever his name is, all over the place. People really like him. Compare him to Griffith all the time, as I understand. Whether I would watch or read it. People have told me to read it, but the anime looks so cool. It's like, what is it, like 2003? It's like the cool, like, early 2000s animation where it's sort of coming out of the 90s and sort of the outlines are a little thinner, and I really like that aesthetic, like early Naruto aesthetic. I like that aesthetic a lot. I don't know. As of now, I don't know what to do in regards to watching or reading it. I'm sure people will give me their opinions in the comments, but I am interested in Monster. Maybe I'll get around to it eventually. Next question here. If you were to try and predict the ending of Berserk, what do you think would happen? Good thing you asked this question rather, my friend, and I'm going to answer it right now by saying I'm not going to answer it. I actually have a full video that's going to be called, like, Let Me Write the End of Berserk or something clickbaity so I can get a lot of views. Or I'm going to go through a very detailed plan of how I would end Berserk if I was to write it. It's not necessarily going to be a prediction, though, kind of. And actually, for the video and for my ideas about the Berserk ending, I don't actually have, like, a quintessential ending. Like, when somebody pointed out to me, I don't remember if this was a Reddit comment or whatever the fuck, that the words "I love you" have never been said in Berserk, it's probably not even intentional. It's probably not something that's intended, but now I've convinced the last words in Berserk have to be "I love you," and probably, like, hopefully that would be about Guts and Casca Though I can see one of them dying and having a weird thing. I could see it ending in a wedding between one of them, but we're getting into very, very happy times going down that road. I feel like Griffith has to die. I think the setup with the Moonlight Child probably being his undoing and all that is so, like, poignant that, like, if he didn't rape Casca at the eclipse, then he would have gotten away with it. But he didn't. But he did, and now he won't. I feel like Griffith has to lose. I'm pretty comfortable in assuming that Berserk will have a happy ending in such as the good guys win. I just don't know if that's going to be at the cost of Guts' life, which I hope doesn't happen. I hope Miura gives us happy Guts and Casca again, or them working towards that to just obviously he has to because he's built it up for so long to get it back. Now I think he might hold off for the end of the series and having them be separated on Elfhelm. Hopefully by Guts getting captured, not Casca. But like we'll see how it all plays out. I feel like I was going somewhere. I feel like the Skull Knight will definitely die. I feel like that's come out recently where it's like after the God Hand are defeated, he will be able to rest or whatever and he'll leave himself of the armor. So that could be our sad, like, final death moment. Could be Griffith and Skull Knight, and then Casca and Guts get to live. I don't think any of the other crew members will die. Calling them crew members like it's Berserk, like it's One Piece. Serpico I could see dying. Maybe it's just because I don't care about Serpico. I don't see, like, any of the kids dying. I don't see Ricket dying or anything like that. But we have a whole video about this, so we'll talk about all of this. We'll get into my thought process eventually when that video comes out, so I'll look forward to it. A lot of Berserk questions, which is fun. The Berserk people haven't entirely left. Bacon is here now, our friend Bacon. He's asking, what inspired you to start making YouTube videos? Was it a certain series that made you felt like you needed to talk about it? Or a certain YouTuber that inspired you? Where do you see this channel heading in the next few years? Two interesting questions. Now, YouTube is my job currently. Because I am 19 and I have no expenses and I don't have to pay for anything. Making $200 a month, which is what I make with both Patreon and YouTube ad revenue. About $200 a month because I don't have any expenses is pretty fine. I have like a couple $100 saved up at this point. That allows me for it to be my job at this point. So that was always like, for the short term, it was always like intended to, I want to make money through this somehow. And that took a lot longer. I was a lot more fucking stupid about it. I didn't actually understand the process when I first got into it when I was 17, but I was 17. And I just finished high school. So it was like a whole thing. The channel in the next few years, I don't know. There will be some point, hopefully in the next year, where it will slow down almost entirely because YouTube is not like my ideal 10-year, like, lifetime career or anything like that. It's very much something I always want to do in the background, but this will probably be the most focus it ever gets, is like this period here of these few years. It was supposed to be a lot shorter than that, but we have other plans that I don't want to disclose. So, like, it's not going to be, YouTube is not my goal. It's not my stopping point. Like, if I get 1 million subscribers, I've made it. Like, that's not really, like, I'm not really concerned with that. Right now, it's just a short-term, not even very much money-making thing. But what made me start making YouTube videos, before that I had the website where I would put some of the opinions out there, but I just had a lot of things to say about a lot of things and just wanted a platform, and I'd been watching YouTube for like fucking, I don't know, 10 years and wanted to do it. There wasn't a particular series where I was like, I got to talk about Attack on Titan, so I'm going to make the channel, or I've got to talk about Berserk, so I've got to make the channel. The first videos on the old channel were wrestling videos. And I constantly had things to say where I was like, I would basically write a script in my head and be like, oh my God, these are all the things that nobody else is saying that we got to say. And so having an outlet for that just like was fun and like healthy, I think. And to turn it into the YouTube channel seemed like a fucking okay maneuver. So that's what we did. But like, there wasn't like a certain inspiration. Like, I have a bunch of inspirations, obviously. We talk about them all the time in Digest and things like that, like Nate and Digi or whoever. But yeah, it wasn't even a particular thing. It was just like, well, I always like, when I was watching it for like the last 5 years, I always imagined doing it eventually. So it was just sort of, well, now's the time. But that was that. What do you the channel in the next few years? Hopefully, it's like a lot more subscribers, a lot more popular. That's really it right now. I don't know. It's not too much of a concern for me right now. Now, Revy Lover is here. Former patron says, what keeps you from putting out content? We crave One Piece and Ava. Also, how does the different order of arcs in Black Lagoon manga affect the story? Implying that I've read the Black Lagoon manga here, which I haven't. But I have heard that the Greenback Jane arc happens after the Japan arc in the manga, I think. I think that's something that happens, so I don't know. I haven't read the manga yet. But what keeps me from putting content out? There's like 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off with me in terms of content, where it's usually like the last week of the month and the first week of the month are incredibly busy. Like all day, every day, just like PowerPoints, scripted video, because I usually put out a scripted video after the chapter reviews. And it's usually a long one, and it usually gives me extreme burnout, because once you put a video up, like, you don't even get to enjoy that it's up, because now, like, slowly the views have to come in, and then you go to sleep and you wake up the next day and some views are there, and it's either disappointing or you're happy with the view count. Usually you're disappointed, and then, like, you basically the next day you're not doing anything. You're not thinking about writing another script and starting this fucking awful process all over again. You're just like, ugh. So usually I spend that time, like, this is usually like the 10th of the month or whatever. I usually spend that time watching like all the analysis videos that have come out for Digest. And Digest takes forever as well, because you got to watch all those videos, then you got to watch them again, then you got to take notes, then you got to fucking export it and do all the editing for that, which was harder in previous months since I was putting the videos in and everything like that. But like the end of the month, you have to get a Patreon video out. And you have to start preparing, like that's when all the digest work happens. And then coming into the month, you got to make a PowerPoint for last minute predictions. It's a whole day. Then you got to like spend the next time working on fucking last minute predictions. This is right off the back of making a whole Patreon video that's like usually exhausting because it's kept to the last minute. And then you got to go through and you got to fucking wait for the chapter to come out and then sort of plan, like, if the chapter comes out today, then how does that rearrange my entire schedule? And then you got to and then usually I have a scripted video I'm working on because I want to get it out right after the chapter review. So it's like, it can bleed off some of those views. And then the next 2 weeks are sort of like, it's sort of like trying to figure out what video you want to do next. It's like starting a bunch of scripts, trying to figure out what to prioritize. There's a lot of laziness after the burnout of those two back-to-back weeks of fucking misery. And so it's usually like not much gets done in those fucking, like, that like week and a half. And then you start going, oh no, I've got to make a Patreon video again. What the fuck am I going to do? And then you go through that, and then you're like, oh my God, I need to watch all these videos for Digest. Go through. And then there's just burnout mixed with dread that the end of the month is coming. So that's like the cycle and why videos usually don't come out in that period. Now we're trying to correct this, both with this Q&A video. To reiterate, there are no badass women in Black Lagoon is supposed to come out. We're supposed to have a bunch of videos here at the end of the month that hopefully will end this cycle of like, because for like the last 3 months it's been like this, and I'm just like, ugh, we got to do it. Now, the Ava content has been put on hold because I was completely, not burnt out, but I didn't have any motivation to do the episode 3 video, which I think will come out right after the Q&A video, because there's just nothing interesting for me to say about that episode. Now I made it sort of a comedy video, so you'll see that when that comes out. But after that, then we can move on. The One Piece video, the Syrup Village video was like the fucking biggest nightmare of a video I've ever made. And it took so long, and it didn't get even 1,000 views, so it was like, ugh. And I don't really have a particularly like poignant another One Piece video, so it's like, One Piece. I'll figure it out. But hopefully we pick up the content trail moving forward. That's the plan anyways, and this Q&A is sort of part of that. I do make more money if I upload videos, so that should be motivation enough. But sometimes it isn't. And we got Art Symbol 124 here. The real questions. Have you ever... Fuck me, I knocked over my phone. We're keeping this in. Have you ever watched hentai? Be honest. I don't know why this is a be honest question. I think yes. I've never watched a hentai show or anything like that. I watched some ecchi shows, I think, like Yamada's First Time, quality comedy show. There's some nudity in that, though only at the very end, and it plays into the story and everything. It's very clever. I feel like Freezing is a show I watched when I was like 12 because I was very interested in the plot there. Fucking Freezing. I haven't thought about that show in fucking 15 years, nor do I remember at all what it's about. There's like, isn't it an Ava clone or something? And the boys are all wimpy and they gotta team up with the girls, and all the girls are super strong and shit, and every time they fight, they expose each other's boobs. Isn't there a little plot point in that show where, like, one of the girls beats up the main girl, like, strips her, and then takes her naked photo and sends it to everybody? I feel like that's a thing that happened, but that was a very edgy show. Obviously, a lot of the draw of that show with the boobs. I think I did watch both seasons of that show. It would have been in dub too, because I was 12. But that was a weird time. I don't think that counts as hentai. Like, I've never watched... Is Black Butler or Black Bullet? One of them's a hentai and one of them's just a normal show. That's like one of the more famous hentais. I've never seen like a show hentai or anything like that. And the most porn hentai I've ever seen is just like clips on Pornhub or whatever of like Naruto bangs Big Titty Tsunade or some shit. But never out of my way. So I've seen very limited hentai in my day. Not exactly the biggest fan. Not exactly what I'm looking for, I don't think. But there you go. Dommy Nance here is asking if I've seen this particular manhwa. Says it's a very creative story. He's trying to sell me on it. I have not seen it. That's all I have to say about this question. I've got so much on my list that I don't know. I'm probably not going to put it on there, but there you go. This bloke from Rome says, in a recent video you indicate your position on the rumbling has changed. Do you still hold that Eren is the villain? Or do you feel like he might have a point? No. I think even in that same video I disavowed that stance. But the little moment we had there of like the self-defense argument or whatever, they did threaten him with war and things like that, but obviously still very much the villain. But no, I'm pretty sure I went back on that nearly immediately, so no. I don't think, if you're an Eren fan, I don't think you should hold on hope that I'm switching over anytime soon. We got another one here. Are you finished with One Piece or still catching up? What is your favorite arc so far? I'm definitely not finished with One Piece, I can tell you that much. Again, we're only a few chapters into Skypiea. I read incredibly slowly, especially manga. I nearly said manhwa there. So, like, don't expect me to be caught up on One Piece for a long, long time. My favorite arc so far, I'm still torn on this. I need to reread Alabasta. That's like on the priority of my reread. Because like the first half of Alabasta was probably the best part of One Piece. But like, I hate fucking fights. Let's just get that out there. And then like the only fight I even halfway enjoyed out of that entire arc was the Nami fight. And it might be just because our clothes get blown off periodically throughout the fight. Like, I just don't give a fuck about fights. It's so boring. I don't care about Zoro cutting through steel. I hear everybody talk about this Mr. One fight. I don't know if they watched it in the anime first. I've heard Nate talk about it. I think there's a whole Craftdwarf video on it. Like, I don't give a fuck about this idiot learning to cut things. Zoro is like the least interesting Straw Hat member by far. Like, I don't care about 2 whole chapters dedicated to him fighting Finger Slice, dude. It's just not interesting to me at all. The same with like the repeated crocodile fights. It's like, I know Skypiea has a lot of fights too. People warn me about that. That's why I think my favorite arcs is like Syrup Village and Little Garden, because they have limited fight. Like, Little Garden has a bunch of fight, but it's like funny. Like Zoro and Vivi and Nami are all there, and the fight is like Luffy keeps getting distracted by the painting girl who fucks with him into comedy segments, and it's like, yes, this is perfect. And the final fight is like, this is why early One Piece might end up being my favorite, because all of the fights like are like Luffy punching him once and they lose. Like Wapol losing incredibly easily, like Luffy just being like instinct after he punches fucking Mr. 3 or whatever. That's fucking Kino's fuck shit. 3 fights with Crocodile, none of them are very long. It's not like bad, but it's just like, I don't know. Alabasta is very long like that, so it tentatively could be Alabasta. No, actually Jaya is the best arc. The world, like the cutting between the world stuff, even though I've already watched most of those clips on YouTube of like Kuma and Don Flamingo arriving at Mary Joie and fucking... is that the scene where Hawkeye shows up and nobody expects him? Like, that shit's all cool. The introduction of Sengoku. I feel like because I'm mostly invested in the One Piece world and the shit overall, like those cutaway bits are probably gonna be my favorite. Like, even though I've seen basically all of Reverie through YouTube clips, like when we get there, it'll probably be my favorite arc, just because it's the lore dumps and shit like that I really like. And Jaya was like half that. It was like half the Straw Hats fucking around, and that was all really good stuff. Jaya is like the perfect One Piece arc, now that I think about it. Just like, no fights, get that shit out of here, who cares? Just them dicking around Jaya, being idiots, getting beat up to prove a point. The fucking speech from Blackbeard, all of that shit, fucking 20 out of 10 quality stuff. The interactions with fucking Dickhead, who will come back, I forget his name. Mont Blanc Cricket is the ancestor, I think, not him. Oh no, the ancestor is Nolan, he's Cricket. But yeah, that stuff's great. The monkeys are awesome. The beginning of Jaya with the Robin stuff, and then the fucking monkey is on the boat and they kick him off. It's all quality stuff. Jaya is the best One Piece arc. I hadn't even thought about it. I hadn't even considered it until this fucking thing. But there you go. Jaya is the best arc. All of One Piece is a 10 out of 10. Even the fights we just complained about. Our friend from Russia here, who I always see commenting, says, I think you should change your channel logo and maybe even name. Did you consider this at any point? What do you think, maybe, about the importance of naming in general? P.S. The Ask a Face cut in the header is great, though. Well, we have changed the channel logo and the name before. From Entertainment Nation, ooh, bad name, to Kyle Entertainment. Eventually, it will just be my full name. Eventually. We're going to get things in order before that happens. It'll probably just be a picture of my face by then eventually as well. But that'll be probably at least a year down the line. So yeah, they will get changed. I'm pretty comfortable with the name and the channel logo right now. And the Ask a Face thing is just because I don't know how to Photoshop a cool header. I'm not going to do that shit. So I just went through like all the images on my computer until one fit the header thing. Because a lot of them were too small or whatever, or it wasn't the correct proportions or whatever. But that you could cut out this part of this Asuka image, so I just made it Asuka's mouth because haha funny and we love Asuka. That's the story behind that. But that's the answer to that. Who would likely use the Behelit in Berserk, or would the Behelit be used as another apostle creation? I don't know. People make theories about this all the time, about maybe Serpico will use it to save Farnese or sacrifice Farnese or something like that. It's joked around that it's Pucks all the time, that Betchy is Pucks. Guts didn't get it in Chapter 1. That's the fucking anime. Fucking with my goddamn retconned memory. He gets it from the count, right? It's the same one that was used to activate and to get the count. So maybe it'll play into Teresa coming back or something. I'm still holding on to hope that will happen. I don't think Guts would ever use it. Skull Knight doesn't need any more fucking Behelits in his belly. I don't know who could use it. Maybe somebody like Nilly summons it, like Farnese Nilly summons it, summons the God Hand, or they just use it to summon the God Hand to the fucking place so they can kill him at the end, or they still have it, or maybe it's like the last panel of Berserk and it's still in the background, and it's like, it's like an ambiguous, somebody could still use it in the future. Or maybe it like will be used as it evaporates after they beat the God Hand or whatever, and the Behelits no longer exist or some shit, and there'll be proof by the time they're holding it up. So the big answer to this question is, I don't know. Problematic here has a few questions. This is a joke list, but also not at the same time. Who would you smash on Black Lagoon if they were sane? Well, Edda is pretty sane, so it's obviously Edda. Have you seen Desert Punk / whatever this is? Please watch it dubbed. It's good and actually found the Black Lagoon the way I actually found the Black Lagoon anime. I haven't seen either of these things. Trying to get me to watch something is a nightmare and it's not going to succeed. Have you read the Black Lagoon manga? Do you keep up with it? I have not. Maybe I will eventually. What do you think of the Berserk 97 anime? Please keep it spoiler free. I have to read or watch I am yet to read or watch Berserk. Well, we sort of spoiled Berserk in a bunch of different questions. But don't start with the anime. Start with the manga. Anime bad. That's all I got to say about that. Lastly, what do you do to chill besides make YouTube videos? Stress about YouTube videos, and I do not make YouTube videos to chill. I mentioned it was the only source of income before. A job, some might call that. Ew. But that's what it is right now. So there is no relaxation when you're making YouTube videos. There is no time off. You cannot go home from your room. So it's just miserable constantly. And you hate yourself because you're not making YouTube videos. And even when you do, you hate yourself because it's not getting enough views. So that's the life. What would you have changed as the Black Lagoon creator? I don't really like to play these games. I'm not like, well, if I could write it, I would do this differently. Now, I said I was going to do that for Berserk, but that's like predictively. How would the ending work if I was to do it? But I don't like to go back and say, well, if you fucking change this little detail, because so much falls apart if you do one thing in a narrative, since it's usually well constructed, and everything builds off each other. So what would I change as Black Lagoon creator? Nothing, I'm pretty sure. I don't want to create Black Lagoon. Leave it to the people that make Black Lagoon. I don't want to fuck with it. You probably won't answer, but why won't you make more videos about Mad Men and The Sopranos if you think there's so much more to say about those two shows than anime stuff? Like, people really want you to make videos about them. Well, The Sopranos video, the one that I've done on the channel, did do really well. It's got like 5k views. Mad Men doesn't do well at all. I think maybe the pilot video now has 1,000 views. I'm not sure. Last time I checked, it was nearly at 1,000 views. So I don't think there's a lot of audience for Mad Men videos. And why don't I make them? Well, usually because they don't get any engagement, and it'll be like a lot of work for absolutely no output, like not output, but no return. So that's why. I should just make more Sopranos videos, but I don't think I can talk about The Sopranos without rewatching it. As that Core Grata video was a remake of another older video I had made about that scene on the old channel, so it was sort of reiterating on those points. But like, I started a rewatch of Sopranos, I watched the pilot, and I had a video idea for it, but it got put on the back burner because I have about 100 video ideas on my fucking what do you call it? Sticky note on my computer. And it's just got pushed back. But I do think there's a lot more to say about those shows because they're way more dense and they're just longer because they're both like 80 plus episode hour long things. But it's hard. Those series are harder to talk about because there's so much more going on, generally, I think. But yeah, that's that. Is there any chance for you to pick up the Black Lagoon manga after the Roberta's Blood Trail story? There's a full arc completed, plus a new one still ongoing. I know that reading is not the same as watching the anime with the dub and everything, but the rest is all there. Since you make some great analysis, I would love to see it on your channel. We'll do it eventually. I've talked about this. I basically answered this question a bunch already, but it is on the agenda. We will do it eventually, but I am fully aware that there's a whole arc completed and then there's a new one ongoing. What do you think about a Code Geass type of ending for Attack on Titan? Since Eren can see the future, it's very possible he did the rumbling because it was the only way to bring humanity together. Also, it was apparent that Eren did not want to have to initiate the rumbling from the way he interacted with Ramsey. However, since he can see the future, I think that unleashing all the Wall Titans was the only way to bring Eldians and Marleyans together. While Eren shoulders all of the world's resentment towards Eldians, this would also tie back into the ideals of his younger self, where Eren wants to secure a future for all of humanity. This is possible. I usually call this the Itachi ending, but as I understand, the Code Geass type ending fits more. I haven't seen Code Geass, so I don't like to say that. I've talked about this a million times before, but it's entirely possible. I don't know what else to say. We don't know to what extent Eren can see the future. If he is the last Attack Titan, then he probably can't see the future. I still don't fucking care to understand how that works. The plot will reveal itself as it reveals itself. This type of prediction with like no implication doesn't like mean anything to me. I think that this comes from a lot of Eren people that want him to be like, that don't agree with what he's doing and want him to be like justified eventually in the narrative. I feel like the justification is already there. I don't know if we need another Eren twist. I feel like he just thought it was the only way to do things. He doesn't have to have seen the future, though he has. He's seen at least his future, right? But the whole point might be to prove that the thing he saw was wrong and he has this limited perspective and there's so many other people and you can't just take the world into your hands and expect it to work out the way you want it to work out. I don't know. We've talked about this a million times. We'll talk about it a million times more, but there's my mini comment on it now. And now the last question, are you happy? Of course not. Who is? Making YouTube videos is miserable. What do we got? We got to play the Madman clip for people again. What is happiness? A moment before you need more happiness. True. Kino. Don Draper based. Everything he says is true. That's definitely a joke, by the way. But I'm happy that this video is done. It's been a very sweaty recording session in here. But I might make a part 2 of this if people didn't get the chance or didn't see the post beforehand and they have a lot of questions. Post them in the comments section below and I'll see if there's a lot of interesting ones and if I want to make this first part of 2 or whatever. I don't think I want to do this. I thought about maybe doing this every month. But if you have a question, just show up in Twitch chat and ask it. And I'll probably answer it while we're playing Pokemons. So I guess chill that out. But that's all we got to say. That's the end of this Q&A video. It's been a fucking long one, I think. It's been a decently long one. With all that said, support links in the description below. Thanks.